Have you ever promised yourself that you would stop doing something, and then found yourself doing it again anyway? Maybe you told yourself you would stop scrolling on your phone late at night. Maybe you said you would start eating healthier. Maybe you promised yourself you would stop procrastinating. But somehow, despite knowing what is better for you, your brain keeps pulling you back toward the same habits. The strange thing is that most people already know which habits are bad. They know smoking is harmful. They know eating too much junk food is unhealthy. They know wasting hours on social media is not productive. Yet these habits continue to repeat, day after day, week after week, year after year. And this creates a strange question. If we know these habits are harmful, why do we keep doing them? Why does the human brain seem to love bad habits? The answer is more surprising than most people expect. Because your brain was never designed to choose what is best for your future. Your brain was designed to choose what feels rewarding right now. To understand this, we need to look at how the brain actually works. Deep inside your brain, there is a system that constantly evaluates your actions. It is often called the reward system. This system evolved to help humans survive. When early humans found food, their brain rewarded them. When they discovered something useful, their brain rewarded them. When they performed an action that increased survival, the brain encouraged them to repeat it. And the way the brain does this is through a chemical signal called dopamine. Dopamine is often described as the brain's reward molecule, but this description is slightly misleading. Dopamine is not simply about pleasure. It is about motivation. It tells your brain, remember this, do it again. When your brain expects a reward, dopamine levels increase. This creates a feeling of anticipation. Your brain begins to crave the action that produced the reward. And once this cycle repeats enough times, something interesting happens. The behavior becomes automatic. You no longer need to think about it. Your brain simply follows the pattern. This is what we call a habit. Habits are incredibly powerful because they allow the brain to save energy. Instead of making new decisions constantly, your brain creates shortcuts. These shortcuts allow you to perform actions without thinking. But this efficiency comes with a hidden problem, because the brain does not strongly distinguish between good habits and bad habits. It only recognizes reward. If an action produces a quick reward, your brain will remember it. And if that reward happens consistently, the brain will build a habit around it. This is why bad habits are so powerful. Many of them provide immediate rewards. Imagine eating something sweet. Sugar activates powerful reward signals in the brain. For thousands of years, sweet foods were rare. Finding them meant finding a valuable source of energy. So the brain evolved to strongly reward the taste of sugar. But in the modern world, sugar is everywhere. And the brain still reacts the same way it did thousands of years ago. The reward system does not know the difference between natural scarcity and modern abundance. It only knows that something feels good. The same thing happens with many modern habits. Social media provides constant novelty. Notifications create small bursts of dopamine. Scrolling delivers endless new information. Your brain receives tiny rewards over and over again. Each new post, each new notification, each new video. Every small reward strengthens the habit, and the brain learns something simple. Do this again, but the most important detail is this. Bad habits are not powerful because they are harmful. They are powerful because they are rewarding. Your brain does not evaluate habits based on long-term consequences. It evaluates them based on short-term rewards. This is why someone might continue a habit even when they know it is damaging. The reward arrives immediately. The consequences arrive much later, and the human brain is naturally biased toward immediate rewards. Thousands of years ago, this bias made perfect sense. If early humans found food, they needed to eat it immediately. They could not rely on future opportunities. If they discovered safety, they needed to take advantage of it instantly. The brain evolved to prioritize the present moment. Immediate rewards meant survival. Delayed rewards were uncertain. But the modern world is very different from the world in which the brain evolved. Today, many of the most important rewards are delayed. Health, education, financial stability, long-term success. These rewards require patience. They require effort, and they often require resisting immediate pleasures. This creates a conflict inside the human mind. Your rational mind may want long-term rewards, but your brain's reward system is still attracted to immediate gratification. This is why bad habits can feel so powerful. They provide rewards now, while good habits often promise rewards later. And the brain naturally gravitates toward what feels good in the moment. But the story does not end here, because habits are not random behaviors. They follow a very specific pattern, a hidden cycle that repeats itself again and again. And once you understand this cycle, you begin to see why bad habits are so difficult to escape. Every habit follows a simple but powerful structure. Psychologists often describe it as the habit loop. The loop has three main parts: cue, action, reward. First comes the cue. The cue is the trigger that starts the behavior. It might be a feeling, a place, a time of day, or a situation. For example, imagine someone who checks their phone constantly. The cue might be boredom. The moment they feel bored, their brain searches for stimulation. Without thinking, they reach for their phone. That is the action. They open social media. They begin scrolling. And then the reward arrives. New information, new images, new posts. Each one provides a small burst of novelty. And novelty is something the brain loves. Because novelty means potential opportunity. Each time this loop repeats, the brain strengthens the connection. Cue, action, reward. Eventually, the brain begins to anticipate the reward the moment the cue appears. The moment boredom appears, the brain predicts stimulation. The moment stress appears, the brain predicts relief. The moment fatigue appears, the brain predicts comfort, and the habit begins automatically. This is why bad habits often feel so difficult to break. Because by the time you notice the behavior, the loop is already running. Your brain has already predicted the reward. It has already prepared the action. The decision has already begun. But there is another reason bad habits are so powerful. Many of them require very little effort. Good habits often require energy. Exercise requires movement. Learning requires concentration. Building something meaningful requires discipline. But bad habits are usually easy. They require almost no effort. Scrolling requires only a finger movement. Eating junk food requires almost no preparation. Watching videos requires almost no mental energy. The brain naturally prefers the path of least resistance. If two actions produce a similar reward, the brain will choose the easier one. This is known as cognitive efficiency. Your brain constantly tries to conserve energy. It looks for the simplest path to a reward. This is why environments play such an important role in shaping habits. If a reward is easily available, the brain will return to it again and again. If something is difficult to access, the brain is less likely to pursue it. Think about how many habits are shaped simply by what is nearby. If junk food is always within reach, it becomes a frequent choice. If your phone is always next to you, checking it becomes automatic. If distractions are everywhere, concentration becomes harder. Your brain is constantly responding to the environment around you. It is not simply choosing habits consciously. It is reacting to cues, predicting rewards, and following the easiest available path. But this also reveals something important. If habits are created through patterns, they can also be changed through patterns. Breaking a habit is not simply about willpower. In fact, willpower alone is rarely enough, because habits are stored deep inside the brain's automatic systems. Instead of trying to fight habits directly, a more effective strategy is to understand their structure. Remember the habit loop: cue, action, reward. If you remove the cue, the loop cannot start. If you change the action, the habit transforms. If you alter the reward, the brain learns a new pattern. This is why many successful habit changes involve replacing one behavior with another. Instead of eliminating a habit entirely, you redirect it. For example, if stress triggers unhealthy snacking, the action might be replaced with a short walk. If boredom triggers phone use, the action might be replaced with reading. The cue remains the same, but the action changes. And over time, the brain begins forming a new loop. Habits are not fixed. They are simply patterns the brain has learned. And the brain is always capable of learning new patterns. But there is also an important psychological shift that happens when people understand how habits work. They stop seeing bad habits as personal failures. Instead, they begin to see them as predictable brain processes. Your brain does not love bad habits because it wants to sabotage you. It loves them because they are efficient, they are rewarding, they are familiar. They provide quick feedback, and from the perspective of your brain's reward system, that makes them extremely attractive. But once you understand this mechanism, something changes. You begin to see your habits differently. Instead of feeling controlled by them, you begin to observe them. You notice the cues, you notice the actions, you notice the rewards. And slowly, awareness begins to interrupt the automatic loop. The moment you recognize a habit forming, you create a small space, a moment of choice. And inside that moment, something powerful becomes possible. You can choose a different action. You can design a different environment. You can guide your brain toward a different pattern. Your brain will always seek rewards. That is part of being human. But the direction of those rewards can change. Because the same brain that learned bad habits is also capable of learning better ones. And the moment you understand that, your relationship with habits begins to transform.